Here we have my very crusty oil pan, and there is a magnet in the bottom of the pan, and it's normal for this to have some metal on it because, well, to be perfectly honest, by design automatic transmissions are designed to slip a little bit, and as a result you get what we have here. So I'm starting with a dirty rag to clean this. I'm actually going to set it aside, and then I'm going to clean up the outside of this really yucky black gook. Comment, don't worry about it. And I'm just going to quickly wipe out the inside with, once again, the dirty rag to start with. And I think probably the fastest way to do this is with my wire wheel. Now, if I could just get maybe 2 of you to not use RTV in this manner, I will be happy. I will say that there is the possibility that maybe a gasket could not be found and the only option was RTV. Why don't we concede that? However, this is what you have to go through should you run into that. So I need to get all this dust and crap out of here, and I don't have a parts washer, which is something that's on my list. I need to get one. So I'm just going to use some brake clean and a clean rag to function as my parts washer. I don't care how dirty the outside of this thing is, but I do care how dirty it is on the inside. This is one part of the job you don't want to stay dirty. I have a clean rag now. Almost brand new, except right here. Now that I have this flat on the workbench, you can see how that's peeled back a little bit. That's from where I pried it up. Before I install this on the vehicle, I'm just going to tap this back down with my hammer to try to flatten it out, even it up. Much better now. Metal has a memory, and if you hit it just right, it should go back to where it was. Now, I'm not going to hit it anymore. One last wiping of the inside and the gasket surface. I'm not worried about the RTV that's in these little grooves here. It's not going to matter. Plus, it's on the pan. It's not on the car, so I don't really care too much about it. And as far as cleaning this goes, I don't think it needs to be absolutely perfect because next week it's going to be covered again. And that's the idea. That's what it's there for. Put that guy back in place. Don't forget the magnet. It does help protect the transmission. And it works as kind of a magnetic filter, getting all the metal stuff. In my opinion, it's easier to install the new gasket now before it gets on the vehicle. So I gotta figure out which way this thing's supposed to go on here. There. Looks like that's it. All my holes are lining up now. But I want to tack it in place. I say this all the time, yet I don't have any myself, and I hear you. But what I'm going to do, since I don't have gasket adhesive, which would be perfect to spray around the outside of this, stick the gasket on here, flip it over, we're good to go. I'm just going to use a little bit of my own RTV, just in key spots around the outside of this. And I'm doing it on the pan because the pan comes off the car. It's a lot easier to clean than the actual transmission. I'm just going to put like a couple little dabs. I just need it held in place long enough for me to get the fasteners through it. After that, I don't care. I think that should be enough to hold it in place, which, once again, that's all I'm doing. Just holding it in place. Hope this is the right way. Yeah, it's the right way. It's a thing of beauty. I'm just going to admire it here for a minute, how pretty it is. Okay, let's put it on the car. Meanwhile, back at the vehicle, I'm just going to install pretty much in reverse of removal. One thing of note is you have to watch this lip here on this catalytic converter. So it's very tricky just to slip it up in there, but once you've got it up in there, you're home free. And it's a matter of a whole lot of fasteners. And since the holes are full of RTV, it's going to present its own little challenge. But I'll take one, put it on one side, I'll jump over the other side, put one over there. That way the whole thing can be held in place as I work. And I don't want to tighten these all the way because I want a little wiggle room in case I need to do precisely that, wiggle it. And you may be asking, why didn't you clean the outside? Well, the outside's going to be dirty. I don't care. Just care about the inside. Okay, now for one of those things that probably got you watching my show in the first place. Oh, it sounds a bit cocky, but this is one of those little tricks that I'm going to give you. Each one of these bolts has a torque. I know it has a torque. I don't know what torque it is, but I know it's not a whole lot. And the reason why it's not a whole lot is because you don't want to warp the pan, but you want to make sure that everything is even and the same. Even in manufacturing, they have automated tools that they use that quote-unquote torque things down. Well, me, in this instance, I have a cordless drill with a 1/4 inch chuck that I have on here that I can just put regular 1/4 inch tools onto, which I have my 10mm here. I have the clutch set to about 15 is where I have that. So you can see my little dot there, it's set to about 15. And I have done this on oil pans, I've done this on several things, and this works pretty stinking good. So this is going to be my torque wrench. And as I run these down, I'm going to do it in a crisscross pattern. This way I'll evenly torque it. So I'll start at the center and then work my way out. But it sure did save a lot of time doing it that way. Let's fill her up. I looked it up in the factory service manual, and this transmission, when totally empty, takes 7.9 quarts. This is the 2.2 liter engine. There's also a 2.5 liter option, and that takes 9.5 quarts according to what I saw in the service manual. You're not going to get all of that out when you do this procedure. There's still going to be a great deal left in the torque converter, probably at least 2 quarts that would be in the torque converter itself. If you service your vehicle on a regular basis, I'm of the opinion that all you have to do is a drain and refill. About every 30,000 miles or so, you should be fine with that. And I don't think you have to change the filter every single time. I would say that maybe change the filter every 60,000 or maybe 120,000. You can leave those filters in there a good long while, but maybe you do them every other oil change, so to speak. And if you do that, I don't think you need to worry about what's in the torque converter because you're changing it out on a regular basis. Now, if you're having shifting issues like I'm having here, perhaps a flush is something that might be warranted, in which case you would be changing out absolutely all the fluid. In my opinion, the best way to do that is with the professional equipment, that you hook it up to a special machine that ties into the cooler lines that goes into the radiator. Then it just cycles out the old, puts in new, everybody's happy. Personally, I think that's the easiest way to do it. As far as the DIY, there are kits available, there are ways of doing that. Like I said, for me, I would just do this. I would just do like drain refill with a filter, and I am trying to address a shifting issue, or what I believe to be a shifting issue. All that aside, I'm gonna start with 4 quarts, including my conditioner, and I'm gonna put my conditioner in first. I'm gonna start it up, I'm gonna run it through all the gears, and then I'm gonna check the fluid level again and see where I'm at, and then just keep bringing the fluid level up until it's at the proper level. This is the other reason why I got all 4 wheels up off the ground. If there's still an issue underneath here, it's already jacked up. It's kind of a pain to get it to this point anyway. So when I'm all done, I can go under there, check for leaks. It just, to me, it seems like a better way of doing it. So you fill the transmission through the dipstick hole, and that's why I have behind me also a long funnel. I'm gonna put in these 4 quarts and start her up. Oh, and by the way, it just takes regular Dextron Mercon. Dextron 3, I believe. You can go higher, you just can't go lower in number. So you can put in Dextron 5, but you can't put in Dextron 2. And I have this long funnel that fits down into the top of the dipstick tube. And make sure that's secure, because you don't want this stuff leaking out everywhere. Once again, I'm going to start with a conditioner, which is really thick and goopy. So it's going to take a while for this to get down in here. I almost wish I would have heated this up or something. I mean, this is going to be a situation where I'll put this in here and like go to lunch, and maybe it'll be all down in there. Now, I've had people swear by this stuff. I tried it in my Odyssey, which was having a transmission problem, and it didn't help. But in my opinion, those transmissions are garbage, so you can take that any way you like. In other words, I don't think anything could have helped it. It was just a shot in the dark. Yeah, this stuff is so thick, I'm going to have to let it sit and seep down in there. This might give you a better idea. See, it's still up there and it's not moving very quickly at all. So there's still all that fluid to go down. I'm gonna grab myself some lunch and come back. All right, after I've let it go for about 20 minutes or so, it is finally gone down inside the funnel. So if you're going to be putting in this fluid conditioner, I would give yourself plenty of time to do that. And personally, I would put that in first so you could chase it up with the regular quarts. So let's put these other 3 quarts in and start it up. Just a little FYI to make your life just a wee bit easier. If you look at this picture on the top here, it shows how to hold the bottle when you pour it. And in my experience, that's actually made life a little bit easier. It comes out a lot nicer. Just one of those things. Okay, we got 4 quarts in there. We're gonna start the engine, run it for a while, run it through the gears, get it all circulated through, check the level, and set it up where it's supposed to be. Once you've got it started up, stick your eyeballs under there and look around for some leaks. Now, as I said, I'm going to quote unquote run it through the gears, and that I'm just going to drop it into reverse, neutral, drive, third, second, first, and then slowly back up through. My foot's still on the brake. And now, since I'm off the ground, I'm just going to run it and drive for a bit, just see how it shifts through the gears. Now I'm going to check the fluid level. Now to me it's still a bit low because it looks like it's just down to this dot. So I'm going to add, and just an FYI, between this lower dot and the upper dot is usually only half a quart. So it's not a full quart between these two areas. According to what this dipstick's telling me though, is this upper mark is full hot, this middle mark is full, and this lower mark is full cold. So the transmission fluid will expand as it gets hotter. So what I do is I will only add a half a quart at a time until I get it where I need it to be. Before you check the level and call it where it is, you really need to let it sit and let all that fluid seep down into the tube before you check it. Other than that, you're going to get a false reading. It's still looking low after that half a quart. Now we're getting somewhere. Still down a bit there. Still not there. Still inching our way up the dipstick. Once again, only half a quart at a time. What I'm seeing is just below this dot. And it can be hard to read. You may need to drive it around and then recheck it. This is probably the trickiest part of this because I don't know exactly how much this is going to take with this fluid change. But like I said, just go half a quart at a time and you'll be safe. Now I seem to be getting somewhere. So I'm just going to let it run. I'm just going to let it run, let this seep down in there, and then I'll check the level. Because I feel that I'm getting pretty close to where it's supposed to be. So to pass the time, I'm going to run it through the gears again, and then I'm just going to let it sit. And then I'm going to start it up, and then I'm going to check the level. I'm thinking about half a quart more and I think I'll have it because it's right about at that bottom dot. With the fluid being so clean, it's probably difficult for you to see, but that's what I'm seeing. So I'm going to put the rest of that quart in and see what I got. Now the fluid's got a couple of bubbles in it, which I'm hoping go away. But that brought it up actually about to that middle dot or so. I'm just going to check it one more time, but you don't really want to find air in here, but it's kind of to be expected after a job like this, but it should go away. So I'm going to check it tomorrow and make sure that air is gone. I think we're just about there. See what I mean about the air? And it's right about to that mark, that F mark. So I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, I got the transmission and everything all wrapped up. I'm gonna, let's take it out for a test drive, see if it shifts any difference, see if we notice any immediate improvements. It may take a little while for that stuff to take effect, that Lucas treatment, but if not, we may be able to notice a change immediately. And if we do, it could be an important clue as to what's actually happening with that performance issue I'm having with that hesitation. If it changes or goes away, then I've got a pretty good indication that it was in the driveline all along. Okay, this is normally where it acts up, where I take off from a dead stop. I've got to admit, it's actually shifting better. Around. This should be a good one because I'll be able to really test out that hesitation that it was exhibiting. It's like gone. That 2-3 shift was much better. I'm convinced. It's better. Yay, Lucas. Let's wrap this up. In total, it ended up taking about 6 quarts. I'm glad I just put the 4 in and slowly worked my way up. in half-quart increments to find out where the top level was. I think if you do the service at home, you might start with 5 and then check yourself to see where you're at then, and then you'll have that extra quart to put in. You want to try to avoid overfilling, but if you do, we're lucky enough to have a drain plug on this drain pan, which makes life a bit easier in my opinion. So thank you, Subaru, for putting one of those on there. I'd love to see those on every transmission pan. It does make things just, it makes a world of difference. Aside from that, I'm gonna be driving it over the next few days or what have you, just to see how that Lucas works out, if anything changes. But right out of the gate, I'm already noticing that the idle's a bit smoother, and that may be because the engine doesn't have to work as harder to work that pump inside the transmission. Any small little loads that get put onto the engine ultimately make the engine work harder. So having clean, fresh fluid inside the automatic transmission does go a long way to help the engine work better and work more efficiently as a result. So maybe I'll notice some better fuel mileage on top of this. I've also got my fingers crossed that it's not going to fail on me. That fluid was looking pretty old, pretty dirty. Looks like it's been some time since it's been changed. So we'll see. But with a new filter in there, some conditioner and fresh fluid, I really can't see how I can do much better. And you saw how clean that fluid was just by changing out what we had. So even though there was still some fluid left in the torque converter after we're done with this service, the majority of the fluid is still out of there, and I don't think that small amount that was in the torque converter is really going to make all that much of a difference. If you have the 2.5 liter version of this vehicle, your experience is probably going to vary, because according to my service manual specs, that took a lot more fluid on the whole. So you're probably looking at a bit more fluid to go in there. But I would say, you know, go out and buy 7 quarts. You know, you really want to be safe, go out and buy 8 quarts. This way you can throw one in the back to have the top off if you ever need it. It also works in the power steering system. So it's not going to hurt you to have an extra quart of automatic transmission fluid laying around. But if you're going to go in and do this, you can get a filter kit, and I would say 8 quarts of fluid. That's a great place to start. Yeah, so don't use goop in place of a gasket unless you absolutely have to. And if you do have to clean it, I would avoid using power tools to avoid, you know, just putting a bunch of gunk down there inside those very delicate valve body parts, which were right above that area. Kind of cool looking though. So we'll see if this makes a difference in my performance issues and the shifting. And if it does, then maybe that's what I'm looking at. Anyway, I'm Eric the Car Guy. You can always find me at Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and always over at EricTheCarGuy.com, where I ask that you direct your automotive questions to the forum that's over there. Or even better, you can type in a couple of keywords to the search function that's there. You may get an answer right away. Anyway, until next time, be safe, have fun, and of course, stay dirty. See you later.